the official podcast of the International UFO Bureau. Founded in 1957 and reimagined for today, we're fusing decades of discovery with next-gen tech to uncover the truth about unidentified anomalous phenomena. Join Executive Director Terry Keel, CEO Mindy Totfest, and Director of Research Melissa Madrigal. 3 generations, 1 mission: to investigate the unknown and bring the truth into focus. This is the Bureau.
Hi, and welcome to the International UFO Bureau, where 3 generations of women come together to investigate the truth behind every unidentified anomalous phenomena that we come across. Tonight, Mindy is not here, our Gen Xer, but I'm Terry Lynn Keel, and with me is Melissa Madrigal. And I'm so glad to have you. Yes, welcome aboard. So we have got a really amazing show tonight, and I can't, wait to get going in there. And let's see, I want to start out though with some questions for our audience, and you can just put in our chat any of the answers that you've got, or you can send them in to us. And the first question that we have for this live engagement is, do you believe Indigenous stories of sky beings and star visitors could be linked to the same phenomena that we see today? Leave your answers for us. And we also have one more I'd like to share with you. What can modern UFO research learn from ancient Native wisdom? That is such a great question because, boy, I do believe everything is linked together, and it's just amazing. It's just absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we have the Indigenous folks with us tonight, and I so look forward to everything that they're going to share with us. So first, though, Melissa, I know that you've got some things that you'd like to share.
Yes, the UFO history for this week.
Yay.
On November 11th, 1979, a commercial airline with 109 passengers was flying over the Mediterranean Sea en route to Spain when the crew spotted a set of intense red lights rapidly approaching from the front. The pilot thought there was an imminent collision about to happen. He radioed in and immediately changed course, but the lights followed the aircraft for miles. Alarmed, the pilot made the decision to divert and perform an emergency landing near Valencia. This was the first time in Spanish aviation history that a UFO encounter forced a commercial flight out of the sky, but the story doesn't end there. An F-1 fighter jet was to intercept the unknown object. The pilot quickly located something airborne, and when he attempted to engage, his systems malfunctioned. He reported electronic interference, and as he closed in, the object accelerated and disappeared. To this day, the official investigation never identified the source of the lights, the interference, or the aerial object seen by both the crew and the fighter pilot.
Well, obviously, that was unidentified flying object, so we know it was a UAP. But obviously, he was seeing something. And back in that day, they never did really believe the people. They really would.
79, not so much.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very interesting, and I'm sure that they were interacting with an extraterrestrial ship.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Mm-hmm. Our next one, I'm excited to share this one. So, good. On the morning of November 9th, 1979, forestry worker Robert Taylor took his usual route into the Dirchmont Woods near Livingston in Scotland. It was just after 10:30 a.m. and he had his dog with him. But what happened next became one of the strangest UFO cases in British history. Taylor claimed that he came face to face with a large, dark, dome-shaped object hovering silently in a forest clearing. It had a rough metallic texture, almost like sandpaper, and appeared to be partially transparent. As he stood frozen, 2 smaller mine-like objects dropped from the craft. They rolled towards him, extended spike-like projections, and physically grabbed him by the hips, and he lost consciousness. When he came to, the craft and the smaller devices were gone, but he was distorted and muddy and his clothes were torn up. He staggered back to his truck, unable to start it, and eventually made his way home on foot. His wife reported that he was pale, shaking, and in shock, but here's where the case sets itself apart. Robert Taylor reported the incident, not to the newspaper or a UFO group, but to the police. And the police took it seriously. They went out to the scene and they found large pattern of ladder-shaped ground marks exactly where Taylor said the craft had landed. They also noted that the torn fabric on his trousers and injuries on his legs were consistent with blunt force, almost like he had been dragged. The case was formally recorded in the Livingston police as an assault, making it one of the only UFO incidents in the world ever treated as part of an official criminal investigation. There was no sign of alcohol, no sign of mental illness, no motive. Taylor was well respected in the community and known for his reliability. Investigators tried to explain it as a seizure, hallucination, or even an accident, but none of those theories accounted for the physical evidence on the ground. And to this day, the Robert case remains officially unsolved.
Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting. I haven't heard about the spikes before. So
right. Yeah, but the fact that the police were involved, and whenever you have somebody like the police or something like that, it's always going to be more of a factual case because
Absolutely.
they're doing their part in investigating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very good story. Thanks for
that's a great story.
Yeah, great.
Our next one is on the evening of November 17th in 1986. A Japan airline cargo flight 1628, was cruising at 3,500 feet over eastern Alaska when its captain and crew reported something extraordinary to air traffic control. They reported 3 unidentified flying objects, 2 small ones that flanked them, and a third that was enormous. They described it as a kind of mothership silently trailing the jet, saying it was several times the size of their aircraft, with pulsing lights and what was described as energy or propulsion coming from underneath. This was an experienced pilot with over 10,000 flight hours. Crew members said the objects mirrored their altitude and maintained formation for nearly 400 miles. The FAA confirmed that they received real-time communications from the cockpit, but their radar systems only tracked the JAL flight. No other aircraft appeared on radar. Still, the pilot and the crew weren't the only ones who saw something. FAA radar operators at the nearby military installation reported a brief, fast-moving blip that they couldn't identify, one that seemed to pace the cargo plane before vanishing. What makes this case especially significant is the level of official scrutiny that followed. The FFA conducted a full investigation, the CIA and FBI got involved, and the captain of the aircraft was removed from his flying duties not long after, despite following his protocols and reporting the event exactly as he was trained to do. Skeptics claim that he had simply misidentified bright planets Jupiter and Mars against the Alaskan sky, but the captain insisted this was not a star, this was not a planet, it was a structured craft, moving intelligently and behaving in ways nothing in commercial or military aviation could replace. The official stance is inconclusive, but in the transcript, the captain's words never waver. It was not a dream, it was real.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what I really like about you sharing this one, because that is a very good case, well known, is that next week we're going to have on somebody that's going to talk about these enormous, large UFOs. And he described it as like a mothership. Well, hang on to your hats, y'all. You've got to tune in next week because you've got to hear about the mother of all the grandmother ships. And they're out there. So it's really great. Thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate you sharing those. Those are great. And they all happened this week in history. So, that's pretty cool. And a lot more. I mean, this week we had the Gulf Stream case that was Gulf Breeze, case in Florida way back in the 80s. So this is really interesting. This whole week has been just kind of very popular for some reason, but yeah. Well, I do want to move right along and get our guests out tonight. So I would like to introduce the Native Paranormal Rangers, Jonathan Dover and Stanley Milford Jr. They're known globally as the Native Paranormal Rangers are retired law enforcement officers who spent decades investigating unexplained phenomenon on tribal lands, from UFO sightings and cattle mutilations to legendary skinwalker encounters. Wow, those are amazing. Their work has been featured on Ancient Aliens, Unsolved Mysteries, and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. In 2023, they were joined by Michele Meiners, who is a vice chair of the IUFOB. She's a board member and a veteran investigator with deep roots in the Native culture. Together, they all combine investigative rigor with cultural insight, providing an authentic Native perspective on the phenomenon. And, y'all are famous. So let me welcome you right into IUFOB's podcast tonight. It's so good to have you, Jonathan and Michele. Yay!
Oh, thank you so much. We always tell people that we're the three amigos famous. We're infamous, and according to Martin Short, that's more than famous. We're El Guapo famous.
Oh, gee. Well, there you have it. Well, tell me, Jonathan, I know Stan couldn't make it tonight. So, boy, tonight has been a strange night. We don't know if it's all the, geo stuff going on out there, or, Mindy wasn't feeling too good, but Stan couldn't make it. But I'm glad y'all are here. So let me just ask you, your partnership has inspired investigators around the world. That's a fact. How did the two of you, John, first begin working together? And what sparked the formation of the Native Paranormal Rangers?
Well, in a nutshell, and I'll give you the short version. Me and Stan were actually put together. I was his training officer when he came on as a rookie. It would take, after the police academy, which was about 13 weeks, it would take an additional 2 years of training to train a ranger.
Wow.
And so altogether, 3 years total before we had a ranger that could really do the job. And I got to work with him. I was an archaeological crime specialist, one of only two in the Western United States. And during that time, I worked some cases with him. In the year 2000, we were, I'd like to say, voluntold. We were ordered to handle paranormal cases on behalf of the department because they were coming up more and more. Bigfoot cases, UFO cases, hauntings, and Navajo Skinwalker cases. And so we, of course, did the assignment, and as we went along, we got rather good at it, and we were receiving 60 to 70 cases a year just on Navajo Nation lands.
Wow.
At the end of that time in 2011, after 11 years of doing this and 31 years in law enforcement, I retired. And Stan was no longer able to keep up with the cases, and he ended up being the designated director for the department, which took him away from active investigations. So between us, we've got 22 years of paranormal investigation experience.
Wow, that's saying
amazing.
something. My heavens. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question. Still another one. Your work has taken you from the Navajo Nation to international conferences. What has been, in your estimation, the most unforgettable case or experience that you've encountered in the field so far?
The one that really got us kicked off, so to speak, was a major case involving over 30 witnesses that had seen Bigfoot in an area of Bloomfield, New Mexico, essentially between Farmington and Shiprock. And and these people, we were able to vet them. We were able to interview many of them. We did a operation up there for 3 days and 2 nights. We came out with foot track evidence, hair samples. They were sent to a lab, and it came back unknown carnivore.
Wow.
Wow,
That's amazing.
that is amazing.
Mhm.
John, I want to backtrack real quick here on our last question. What did you do as an archaeological crime specialist? What did that entail?
Okay, there is a lot of commercial looting that goes on Native American lands, and they dig up graves from 700 and 900 years ago, from the Anasazi, the basket maker, uh, Proto-Hopi, and they steal the baskets, the sandals, the pottery, the shell jewelry, things like that, and they sell them on the black market, or they sell them overseas. In one case in Germany, they sold a Hopi or Proto-Hopi polychrome Oya, which is a type of pot, and it sold for $40,000.
Oh my
So
goodness.
there is money to be made. There are professional looters that do this. They're armed. In a lot of cases, they have one person that watches with a rifle, another person that digs, a third person that sleeps, and they do this 24/7 until
Wow.
they dig out the whole hillside or midden and get all the artifacts and then take them. So my job was to go after them. And I only had one counterpart that worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and we worked a lot of these cases together.
I imagine that can be dangerous.
Yeah, and on top of that, we also did reburials of human remains that were discovered. A lot of them were washouts where weather would just wash them out. We had them wash out on people's doorsteps when they built their houses illegally without an archaeological clearance of any kind. And then they says, well, we want the skeleton removed. And we told them, no, they were here first. You move your house. So,
There you go. There's a good answer. They belong here. You don't.
Michele, I wrote down a question for you.
Sure.
So you've worked closely in the Uinta Basin, and it's one of the most active regions in the country for UAP activity. So what parallels have you found between the reports that you've investigated and those from tribal communities?
Wow, that's an interesting question. There are similarities. So up in the Uinta Basin, they have their own lore. One being is different from Native American, say in Navajo land, they talk about the little people. We don't emphasize the little people. We emphasize on, we're more famous for the Skinwalkers. But although they're present there too, up in the Uinta Basin, it is not readily talked about, but that there is a correlation to that too. We talk about the water babies. It's just those different entities. We're talking about UFOs is really common amongst the tribes. The star people is what has been referred to up there. On all the nations in tribal nations, we refer them to the star people.
I think it's a wonderful name. I think it's my favorite name of all of them.
Yeah, because it's hard to conceptualize what do we call them. I mean, there could be a species out there and we don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
We, as Americans, and in our English verbiage, we call it because they look similar to nature. A reptilian is a lizard, and the generic name is reptilian. So we tend to do that. We don't know what their true nature or their names.
Right. Yeah.
The level of intelligence they have, things like that. So it's interesting.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Thank you.
So these native traditional names have all been passed down. I think it's just amazing because we know the reptilians are real. We know they're here. There's so many people have seen them and interacted with them, I being one of them, two different types, no less. And I know also the skinwalkers and things like that, that is all very real, even though it sounds so hard to wrap your mind around, but I know that you all deal with those kinds of things generationally. It's just so interesting to me. I do have another question. Either one of you can answer this. Many of your investigations blend traditional knowledge with evidence-based research. So how does that dual approach help uncover the deeper meanings behind these encounters?
Well, from an investigator standpoint, there is, you have to know the history behind a lot of this. And in order to understand it, not only Bigfoot, skinwalkers, star people, you go to medicine men that know about this, and they basically teach you what you need to know and only what you need to know. There's a lot more that they know, but they don't just give it all out. And
Yeah.
nothing is written. Navajo is an oral history tradition, so the knowledge is kept, but it has to be given exactly. You can't uh, give your take on it or your opinion. It has to be given just as it was given to you. Now, I want to make a statement right up front here. In the
Sure.
United States, there are 574 recognized Native American tribes. In the First Nations, there's 633. In all of those tribes, understand that in the United States, everybody is waiting for the government to declare that UFOs are real. Um,
Yeah.
Native Americans do not need any government. In fact, we have a strong distrust of the government. 6,000 treaties that were never upheld
I wonder.
is a good reason.
Yeah.
So we don't need any disclosure from the government. Um, the elders, the grandma and grandpas will
Yeah.
tell you they've always been here. And one of the things that in Navajo we don't do is we don't differentiate. We just call them holy beings
Hmm.
that came to us to impart knowledge. And there were many different types, but they were all met and called holy beings. So um,
Interesting.
and interestingly enough, when we refer to ourselves, we call ourselves the five fingered people.
Ah,
And the five fingered people in the Yebiche dance, that's the clown at the end of the ceremony that dances, 10 or 12 dancers. And the clown is always doing things backwards. He doesn't listen, he chases women, he does all kinds of really crazy things. And he represents the five fingered people because we were visited by the holy ones and we don't take instruction very well.
Sounds like our world today.
well, I love how it's all history passed down generationally, because in that that you're not being lied to, you're being taught what has happened, what has been dealt with, what people have interacted with through the generations. And I love that because it's true. It's truth, and what could be better than that, and I agree with you, nobody has to tell us that there are extraterrestrials out there, or there are angels, or there are skinwalkers, or Bigfoot, or all of these different things. They've been seen by a multitude of different types of people all over the planet. And back in the day when you didn't have a telephone, or there was no way that you could communicate, they were all seeing the same things. They were putting it on, papyrus, or on the walls, or, on the stone tablets. these people were not lying. They were reporting what they were seeing as best they could in that time frame. So this is what I love about the indigenous families. You know, they're all telling the truth about what their generations have lived through, and the extraterrestrials are a part of that. And you know, even the like the angelics and the others, it's just amazing. I love that they call them the holy ones, you know, because you know, we don't know everything about them, where they're coming from. There's so much that we don't know. We know a lot, and I think the indigenous folks help us figure a lot of it out. But we don't know everything, you know. So thanks for sharing all of that, because I happen to believe it, you know. I think it's all real.
You know, Terry, it's really interesting. When John said it was an exact verbal history handed down through generations of, you know, medicine men or leaders, it is exact. And when I was with one of the medicine men, he spoke about up in Uinta Basin, they're up near the Dinosaur National Museum area. There's a river that sits a valley, and all the nations anciently gathered there, and they waited for the god to come down to teach them how to plant their crops, how to live, coexist with one another in peace. And that's what happened is we would have, it was like an amphitheater where we would get given direct knowledge and such as to how to conduct our lives. So we today are doing it through the internet. We're doing it as such on this show. We are teaching characteristics of our culture. And this is our mission as paranormal rangers, that we want to teach the knowledge to the masses. And that's what's really going on today, is this is our gathering, because so many people have had so many experiences with
Right.
recently, you know, with what's been happening with the comet in the sky with 3 Atlas. And so many things are affecting our world right now. And so we have to look to the cosmos to see what's really going on.
I think it's really an amazing thing that you guys are doing, that you're extending outside of the native tribe to teach other people, because it is happening so often that we do need that education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
not kidding. It is just absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah.
And the IUFO Beast First Americans Project is now preserving reports directly from tribal lands. And why is it so important that these stories be told by native voices themselves? What would you think the answer to that is?
Well, I can answer that a little bit. Um, Native Americans are distrustful of
Mm-hmm.
any type of government, and they have had UFO groups come up to the Navajo reservation and investigate sightings and things like that. What they've told me in the field is that we ask them, how come you don't report this to some organization like MUFON? And they tell us, if we report it, there'll be a whole bunch of people come up here. You know, they'll say Belagana, which is a non-Indian, and they'll come up here. They'll all hold hands and stand in a big circle and sing "Kumbaya," and the sky people will not come back. And those are our holy ones. And so if they chase them off and they don't come back, that's almost sacrilegious. And to make the point, a young lady came to me. She said she went to visit her grandmother, and her grandmother is weaving in a hogan. The door is open to the east. That's the only light she has. And as they're sitting there in the middle of the desert, a shadow comes to the door, and there's no sound. The girl looks out, and there's 2 6 to 7 foot diameter discs, silver discs that are floating out there in front. And she got really excited, and she's, Grandma, look, look, look. And the grandmother is sitting on a sheepskin on the floor, on a dirt floor. And without even looking, she tells the granddaughter, "Oh, they're always around here," and just keeps on weaving. So that tells you that this happens a lot, that there's nothing special about visitations, that
Right.
it does happen.
They're
And
quite common, right?
but the granddaughter was just absolutely, surprised because she saw what she said was a UFO.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're out there. We've seen so many of them. We know they are really always here. I don't know why they choose certain people to disclose to, and not just everybody, but they do choose people and they control the moment. And boy, if anybody listening has had an experience, they are welcome to report at IUFOB dot, I think it's report.iufob.com. And we would love to hear about any stories that you have, especially if you've had something from native lands and that sort of thing. We'd love to hear those stories. So please reach out to us. We take it very seriously. And many of us here have had experiences, so we understand what's going on.
So how do you guys ensure that sensitive cultural traditions are honored while still documenting and investigating UAP encounters for public record?
It's all about knowledge. It's about our ability to respect the cultures, respect other people's stories. You guys were gathering, being a part of the IFUOB Bureau board of directors on there. And thank you it's so wonderful to work with you women on there, and Jonathan, who is the director of special projects. And what's really interesting, that when I spoke with Mindy, one of the key things was to preserve. And this is a document of preservation. And we need to preserve the interactions with these holy ones, with the star people. When you talk about the bloodlines, how they track that some certain people get certain experiences, we believe that they're bloodlines that are connected to these extraterrestrial beings. And that's a widely used international word, is that there's actual mitochondria that's been extracted, and they can identify the Cherokee Nation being the one has the strongest bloodline. And those have been proven through scientific research, that the DNA is tied into these extraterrestrial beings. Now,
Right.
where to get that information? That is, again, one of those government things that are, being hidden from the populace. So, but in talking with some of these individuals who work in those areas, yes, it is a bloodline that they've been able to extract. And the women actually are a strong DNA connection to these beings.
Yeah, it's interesting. In my life and in my situation, we had 70 years of exposure with extraterrestrial beings and, sightings, and my mother, myself, my son, my brother, so many of us. So they do kind of follow that bloodline, and my blood isn't special, although people say, oh, gee, you're all green eyed or something. Well, I don't really know what it is all about. My one son is blue eyed, but the rest of us were green eyed. So I don't really know what they choose or why they do that. I'd like to know more about that. If anybody has any ideas, please share them with us, because I'd love to, talk about that at some point. So Stan has a new book out, and it's The Paranormal Ranger Shares Incredible Accounts from Years in the Field. I just wanted to, bring that up and talk about that. It's available on Amazon. He's not here to really discuss it with us tonight, but that looks like a very interesting book, and I'm definitely going to get a hold of that and read that. all about those Navajo investigators. Just amazing stuff going on. I know that it's something that y'all have talked about. Is there anything maybe, Michele, you want to say about that book for him since he's not on?
Well, it's a collection of his stories as being a ranger, Navajo Ranger, and it shares from his childhood on about how he grew up on native lands. He was raised in Oklahoma, and then made his way to the Navajo Nation, and where he ended up working with John. And I'm sorry for the background thing. There's something in there
Oh, that's okay.
behind my screen. It's a little distracting me. I looked like a planet for a minute.
We just figured it was one Mickey Mouse ear.
Hello. But so basically, John worked with him more. So John probably get a better recap than what I'm doing, but it just has to do with his experience out in the field as being a ranger. And he is writing a second. I think it was a fictional book that he's working on right now. And
That's right.
I'm waiting for John's to come out as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've had a book that I've been working on for years. It's it goes through my childhood and my career in law enforcement, and I've had the opportunity to build and rebuild departments, and so there's a wealth of information, and it goes. I've got 47 chapters, so it'll probably be a two-part book. And it goes through everything: accidents, investigations, rescues, just all the adventure stuff, um, and including the paranormal investigations. When we were approached by a publisher, Stan was much closer to getting a book done specifically about the paranormal. And so they grabbed him first and put him under contract. And so I'm taking my time with mine. And writing is hard.
Mhm.
I'm finding out. I literally had to go back. I was about one third the way through filling up chapters, and I it started reading like a Jack Webb book. On the above date and time, I went here and did this, and so I have to go back and add color commentary. It was a hot day. Sweat slowly trickled from my temple. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And
Had to beef it up.
yeah, I had to add that little color flourish in there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that how we approach these investigations is that number one, we vet people. We are trained in body language, in facial expressions, in micro expressions. We look at all of that just like a homicide investigator. We will ask really embarrassing questions like, do you use prescription medication? If you do, what kind? When was the last time you took it? Do you use recreational drugs? And again, what kind? When was the last time? Do you use alcohol? And when's the last time you had a drink? And we're looking at the body language at the same time, and you can pretty much determine if somebody's being straight up with you. Then when we do the investigation, we're collecting evidence and facts first, and then we'll talk to the witnesses and see if their statements line up with what the evidence shows.
Right.
And so it's very exacting. I grew, I was doing archaeological investigations, which are incredibly forensic investigation stuff.
Absolutely.
And so getting into the paranormal stuff just as a continuation of that same discipline.
Wow. And the paranormal stuff, very real, stuff happens to people all the time. A lot of people decide not to talk about it because it is a little unnerving, maybe, and not something that you want everybody to know about, because there is still a little bit of not a giggle factor, but a nut factor. Like if something is happening to you, people are like, oh, okay, that's nutty. That's not right. But even in our own home, we've had all kinds of orbs that have been filmed. I mean, we've actually caught them on film and pictures and things like that. Guests that have stayed here, different things that have happened, voices and that kind of thing. Every single person does have that. It's
Mhm.
just a part of being in the land of the living. While you're alive, these things are going to happen at some point on your journey from, the cradle to the grave. And people seem to act like it's so crazy. But I know you guys were both on the Skinwalker Ranch. And I know a lot of crazy things happened there, paranormal wise, and with skinwalkers and with extraterrestrials. Can you share anything that was really, that stood out like in a paramount way with you on the Skinwalker Ranch? Either one of you?
I can. That's where I started. Uh,
Yeah.
getting the connection to ufology. Um, One significant experience I had was when I took 11 of us on the ranch before it was even projected as a show or anything. And we actually had the ships come. There was a species that came. We had certain equipment with us, but most of these people did not have a camera on their phone. They didn't even have a phone on them.
Wow.
And we had an extraordinary night. It was the week of Halloween of 2016. It's so vivid in my mind. We had an airship up there. It was a mothership, and then two pilot ships came down towards the ranch, and we asked them to land. And one of the messages that we all got was, "No, there's too much radiation on that land, and we will start an interstellar war." And that night we had paranormal coming out of Homestead 2 Hill. It lights up. We had infrared cameras on our infrared goggles, and we were actually filming. The film did not come on. It did not pick it up. It
Hmm.
should have. And we saw the entity, and it was very happy to have us there. We all danced with it. It was a magical night. It was and we had rabbits and lizards right at our feet. We could bend down and pet
Wow.
them. It was kind of a different night, and it reminded me of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because all these orbs came out, these ships came out that looked like ice cream colors.
Mm.
Vortexes were showing up above people's head, and it was an extraordinary night. And it was a happy night. That it was one of the extraordinary, and no one believed us. 11 of us went on
Yeah.
it. You're talking about that experiential experiences where, and then you start to think you're starting to be crazy. We just had dinner and then we all left the ranch. But that was the early part of the ranch project, and then now what, it's full blown scientific experience. But John now has been there as of late, so I'm going to let him relate some of those.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, for me, believe it or not, I knew when I do investigations on Navajo Nation lands, I protect myself.
John.
And I do a combination of prayer, smudging, bitter medicine, or lightning struck tree medicine. And I pray with intent.
Mhm.
And by the end of that, sometimes I feel like I have a bubble around me. And every time that I've been on Skinwalker Ranch, things happen, things are picked up and videoed and stuff like that. But I've never, ever felt like I was in danger.
Mm.
Uh, one time I went there and I went with Art, um, and Art did a ceremony, a protection ceremony for both of us. We went to Homestead 2 at night,
Mhm.
and he pointed out one room in there that was the most haunted.
Ah.
After they went out, it was a really small room, like 8 foot by 8 foot. And as they went to go do another thing in the other building, I stayed in there for 15 minutes in pitch blackness
Hmm.
and just stood there in the rubble and no light, no ambient light or anything.
Hmm.
And for 15 minutes, I stood there and I told it, if you wish to manifest, by all means, go ahead. But I'm not here to antagonize you or do anything like that. I'm just here to observe. And in 15 minutes, absolutely nothing happened.
Hmm.
Uh, but in other parts, I mean, there were things going on and little things happening here and there. So when I got done, um, when we got done and we went back, it just seemed like a normal night that um, I felt well protected.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, there are places on the Navajo that would rival Skinwalker Ranch
Oh,
in
I believe.
paranormal activity.
Uh-huh.
We just don't talk about it because we
Right.
really don't want people to come out and
Right.
hunt for that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Already, we have people on YouTube showing up and looking for skinwalkers, and we tell them don't do that because
No.
a skinwalker can kill you,
Yeah.
and not think twice about it. And
Mhm.
by you putting yourself out there and going, piggy boo, come on, cow, come out,
Do it. Yeah.
it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And you put yourself and others in serious, serious danger. So we tell them don't do it.
A lot of people don't seem to understand the seriousness of like the demonic entities or the negative entities. But prayer is the most powerful tool we have. So once we anoint ourselves for protection, like you did,
Right.
prayer is so powerful. And we're in charge when we are prayed up and protected. We're not in charge if we don't have that prayer and that understanding, the knowledge of who we are in the moment and what we're bringing to the table, the situation. A lot of people don't acknowledge that. Well, I don't think they believe it. So I'm glad you mentioned that, that you get prayed up and that you are very intentional in your prayer. And that's important that people understand. You don't just walk blindly into these things. Now, our land here in Tennessee, I was told, uh, 1600s, 1500s, it was an area where all the different tribes in the area at that time, and I believe there were Chickasaw, Choctaw, Cherokee, I believe those were the three. They would meet here because on the back of our property there was some type of a water gap. There was water here, and they would all come here and meet in this area and make their resolutions, talk to each other. They had a time where they would all come here. And I think that's why this particular area has so much activity. And like you were saying, on the Navajo Nations, it's worse in some areas than even the Skinwalker Ranch because of what has happened, what's transpired in the past, what's happened on that land. Um, I just find all of that so completely amazing. I love learning about it and how the earth has seen generation after generation after generation of peoples, and it's just wonderful that you guys have that passed down word, about what's happened, and I just love it. I just love it.
For each of you, what do you think that mainstream UFO research can learn from Indigenous perspectives that's been missing?
I'm going to say the spirituality.
Mhm.
Native Americans are very spiritual.
Yes.
And when we use all these terms, etheric, spiritual, a meditation, things like that. We've always been a spiritual people. And like John, I would pray on when I used to go on the ranch too. And I'm going to put this out there because someone told me if I owned this ranch, I would never let you pray, which
Mm,
tells me that there are opposing entities that were there too, trying.
right.
But when I would come on, it would change the nature of the ranch at one time, and it would make it peaceful. And that's the thing is, these individuals are not in charge. It's only one great spirit that's in charge, and that's what we believe in is that great spirit. And we
Right.
all have different names for him.
Yeah.
But
That
he's
makes sense. Mindy's comment over here, which connects to what you had to say, was she
yeah,
had said, I heard that the ranch responds to people according to what they hold in their spirit, almost like a mirror. I can see why Michele had such a positive experience. So
Yeah.
it sounds like they do, they respond to the vibration.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The natives also know how to control it,
Mm-hmm.
all that spirituality to call in for ceremonies, for blessings.
Isn't
John,
that
would you have the same answer, do you think?
wonderful?
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing. We grew up and we've been taught that everything is science.
Mhm.
It's got to be sciency. So this whole idea that if it can't be, science tells us that anything that can't be explained by science is magic.
Mhm.
And so, because they don't have an explanation for it. Well,
Right.
um, in Oklahoma, I was attending the Apache Tribe of Oklahoma Blackfoot Society dance,
Mhm.
and an elderly woman came up and she basically told everyone she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, that they gave her 6 months or less to live. And
Ooh.
she asked to be placed in front of the staffs. We have spear staffs in the front that we dance with, and
Mhm.
they're for healing, and they have eagle feathers on them. And so she was placed in front of the staffs, and we did dances for her.
Oh,
And the next year she came back,
Mm.
next summer, and she told everybody that she went back to the hospital. The doctors did x-rays, then they did CT scans and MRIs. They could not find any cancer in her body.
Oh, that's wonderful.
God
And they
bless you guys.
and they started calling other doctors and other hospitals and telling them, come over here. We've got this lady's records, all her x-rays and CT scans, and we don't have an explanation. And she came back, she was just smiling, and she said, whatever happened, it worked. So
Yeah.
when you see something like that, science cannot explain it,
No.
but it
Mhm.
still happens.
Yeah.
And
That great spirit came in.
and
Yeah.
then you look at our United States here. We are missing a spirituality in our lives, and
Yeah.
everybody's clamoring for it,
Mhm.
to the point where we have what we call pretendians. They want to be Indian because Native Americans have a spirituality, and we're just raised that way. But
Yes.
other people see that, and when they see something they want, they go and grab it. I've had to deal with people on archaeological sites looking to pick up rocks and bones and pottery because they're not native, but they're trying to build their own little medicine bag, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And and I've had to escort them off the reservation, and they were crying. I mean, tears coming down their face because they were denied the ability to go to these places.
Mm.
An archaeological site, only 3 people can be on those places: an archaeologist, a Navajo medicine man, and a Navajo ranger. Even a
Mm.
police officer can't go to those places.
Wow.
And in order to go there, medicine men had to explain to me that you go, because it's my job, you go there with respect, you pray ahead of time, you go in with the idea that You don't kick the ground, you don't spit on the ground, you don't pee on the ground, and you let the entities know that are there that you're there to protect them. And I've
Mm,
never been negatively affected in all my years of doing that.
that
But
is
most
very
but,
interesting.
but most Navajos will not voluntarily go to a place like that.
Right. Wow. You know, this has been so interesting. And of course, we're out of time. We're getting right to the top of the hour here. Where can listeners follow your work and get in touch with you both?
They can go to Native Paranormal Rangers at gmail.com and respond to us there. They would like to know more.
Okay. We'll put that in our chat there so people can reach out to you guys.
And
Thank
then
you.
you guys do a podcast once a week.
Yeah, you have a podcast as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we had our podcast live right before yours. So we just went from our show to yours, and we had the great John Burroughs with the Rendlesham
Yeah.
experience on
Oh,
our show today, and it was quite. We just barely touched the tip of the sword, as we do here as well. Thank you for
no.
having us on your
Yeah.
show.
Oh, it is our pleasure to have you on.
Yes, it
I
is.
just
Thank you for
love
having us.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you for being here with us. And I do want to mention next week's guest real quickly because we had talked about that a little bit more. He's the techno signature hunter. But next week on the Bureau, we're diving straight into NASA's own solar archives with researcher David Toon, a man who's uncovered more than 60,000 unidentified objects hiding in plain sight. Are these natural phenomena or the unmistakable signs of intelligent design? Join us next week as we explore what David calls technosignatures, evidence that could finally answer the question, are we alone? And this segment, I'm not kidding, is sure to blow your mind. It's beyond interesting. No kidding. Please, please don't miss it. It's live next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central, only on IUFOB's The Bureau, right here on Enigmatic Anomalies /EA-TV, the network for the unexplained. So thank you all so very much for being here with us tonight. Thank you, Melissa. This has been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot.
Great.
Yes.
Yes.
And as always, thanks for joining us on the Bureau. Visit us at the internationalUFObureau.com and follow us on social media to stay connected. And until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and never stop demanding the truth.
Thank you for joining us today on The Bureau. For exclusive content, follow the International UFO Bureau on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. From yesterday's sightings to tomorrow's revelations, be sure to tune in next time right here only on